What is the Palestinian perspective all about? It's about you challenging the people who constantly act out against Israel, not to defend Israel, but to actually prove to you how what they are doing is in fact benefiting the Palestinians in the short, in the medium, or in the long term. If you can get them to understand that, like or hate Israel, what they're doing isn't really helping the Palestinians, you've done a very good thing as an advocate for Israel, and you've also helped promote a better situation for a people that is suffering gravely, more from their own leadership than from Israel. The principle I want to talk about in this video is called the Palestinian perspective. It's a fairly complex principle to use, but then it's very well worth knowing how to use, because what it can do for you in conversations is totally redefine the framework of the discussion and get people who seem to be blatant anti-Israelis strategies they are using in their attempt to help the Palestinians. Now, the idea behind this principle is actually fairly easy to understand. Consider people's paradigm about this conflict. Most people will say that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is a conflict that has two sides, the Palestinians and the Israelis. Most people believe that in context of these two sides, it is in fact a win-lose situation, or as it's called in game theory, a zero-sum game. When dealing with a zero-sum game, if you want your team to win, you can either try to play better than the other team, or you can get the team to play worse than you. Meaning, if I can get the other team to lose, my team automatically wins. Now, because most people believe that it's a win-lose situation between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the strategy that you will find many, many times among organizations that are anti-Israeli is in fact an anti-Israeli strategy rather than a pro-Palestinian strategy. So what you have to do in order to employ this principle is ask these people one very simple question, but don't let go. Keep asking more and more. Ask for evidence. And what's the question? Sir, forget Israel for a moment. I'll support everything you have to do against Israel. You want to sign a petition? Let's do that. But just before we do, can you please demonstrate to me, prove to me, that how this course of action actually benefits the Palestinians? Can you tell me, what are the objectives you have for the Palestinians? What do you want for them? Do you want self-determination? Do you want them to have a country of their own? Do you want them to actually have control over Jerusalem? Do you want them to receive the right of return? What do you want? What is your hope for the Palestinians? And how are you serving these objectives in your current strategy? Meaning, how are you helping the Palestinians by signing the divestment petition against Israel or by protesting against Israel? And have you found over the past 20 or 30 years that this strategy is working for you? Because I want to introduce a different paradigm, and this is where the Palestinian perspective comes into full force. See if you can get people to agree to the following paradigm. That in fact the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is not a two-sided conflict, but rather a three-sided conflict. That in fact it's a triangle. And at the base of the triangle you have on one side the Israelis, and on the other the Palestinian people. And at the top of the triangle you have the Palestinian leadership. And that if in fact we do have a game theory situation here where it's a win-lose situation, then the real situation is that when the leadership wins, Israel loses, but then also the Palestinian people lose. And when the leadership loses, Israel wins, but then the Palestinian people win as well. Meaning, a deeper look at the reality on the ground will find that in most cases, in most situations, the lives of the Palestinians and the lives of the Israeli people are so intertwined that the effect of an incident on Israel and on the Palestinian people is very much similar many, many times. But the lives of the Palestinian people and their own leadership are not intertwined. These people can live in unbelievable poverty. The leadership can live in amazing lifestyles and are very, very rich. When Israel retaliates against the Palestinian people and there are injured individuals, the people suffer, the leadership doesn't. When the leadership sends an attack into Israel territory with a suicide bomber or rockets onto Sderot, the Israeli people suffer. And when Israel retaliates, like in the Gaza war, the Palestinians suffer, but the leadership does not. This is a three-sided conflict, not a two-sided. When something is good for the leadership, it's usually bad for the people, and vice versa, specifically when dealing with the Palestinians' reality. And why is this so important? Because based on this new paradigm, every single time the people you're talking to, the anti-Israelis, are acting against Israel, they are in fact also acting against the Palestinians. every single time the anti-Israeli pro-Palestinians, as they would have themselves be, strengthen the Palestinian leadership, the Hamas, they are in fact damaging the Palestinian people's situation. They are reinforcing a leadership that tortures its own people, that doesn't really want an independent country, that cares more about destroying Israel than about promoting the Palestinian people. And we can provide you with endless documentation, and some of it is already attached to this video, that demonstrates case after case after case how, when something is good for the Palestinian leadership, it's bad for the Palestinians and it's bad for the Israelis. And when something is good for the Palestinian people, it's usually very good for the Israelis, but very bad for the Palestinian leadership because it undermines their position. So what is the Palestinian perspective all about? It's about you challenging the people who constantly act out against Israel, not to defend Israel, but to actually prove to you how what they are doing is in fact benefiting the Palestinians in the short, in the medium, or in the long term. If you can get them to understand that, like or hate Israel, what they're doing isn't really helping the Palestinians, you've done a very good thing as an advocate for Israel, and you've also helped promote a better situation for a people that is suffering gravely, more from their own leadership than from Israel.